And we have recording. Brilliant stuff. Marvellous, marvellous, marvellous. Right, okay. So, this is our review of Drag Race Season 13, Episode 2. And my panto sister Tom is with us today. Tom is one of those people who is incredibly creative, and I'm insanely jealous of his talent. And if I've got anything to do with it, a future contestant on Drag Race Season 3 UK. You know, just saying.
Does amazing makeup.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, we for the first year we worked together, I painted myself. Paint is probably pushing the definition slightly. It was more like dip my face in shit. And then finally one day I arrived early enough for Tom to actually paint me, and for the last show I looked amazing. So yeah. Tom, give yourself a plug. Where can you be found online if people want to see what you do?
So most of my social media is at makeup_by_Tom with double M, or I'm under Trixie J on TikTok and Instagram as well.
Awesome. Because, you know, Paul and I have been doing these review videos for a while now for like various sci-fi stuff, and we range. we talk about our 6 regular viewers, right? So
When we say it is like literally between 6 and 9 usually.
Yeah. And then I was looking this morning, and our review of Drag Race episode 1 last week has 500 views. So thank you if you're one of those returning viewers. Very touched and overwhelmed by this, I have to say. But let's get into it. So it looks like it's going to be kind of alternating between the groups until the group is small enough that under COVID restrictions they can all be in one room.
Well, that's what I'm assuming. I mean, they've not spelled that out, but that's how it seems.
Yeah. I mean, that definitely looks like the format for sure. So they kicked off with the winners and added Elliot Double T into the group, which I don't know how you felt about this, Tom. We felt that it wasn't a twist so much as a blindingly obviously going to happen.
Yeah.
It was just as soon as they announced that, you know, it was like a round, and then like, a tie break, and of course it was. And we were like, yeah.
Well, I literally said to you what was going on when basically Elliot obviously got voted off and was also in the tie break, so gets voted off again. So like, you know, complete, as far as the show is concerned, complete loser. And I literally turned to you and went, there's no way they're kicking him off now. And there's going to be some twist. And lo and behold, there it was.
So then they had we had a mini challenge, which was day look and night look. Now, it was proper like hit and miss for me. That nobody sat in the middle, I don't think, for that. The looks were either I loved or hated them. I think Gottmik, for me, phenomenal. And Elliot, again, fantastic looks. Love those.
Yeah, winner for me. That was probably my favourite outfit of all of them. Just the hat, the plume, the
bright orange.
Yeah. Which was like literally the only splash of colour.
This is what we needed in the first episode, though.
Yes.
Like, we just needed to get to know them rather than, you know, seeing how they lip sync, because anybody can lip sync, but I want to see what their style is. Yeah.
I mean, you want to get their aesthetic and stuff like that, don't you? You want to find out what are they about, what's their look, who are they? And I get it. It was a necessity thing because I'm guessing they can't. It was either a short season because they only picked 6 queens because of distancing and COVID and even though there's no evidence that once you're in whichever group you're in, that there's any kind of, there's no masks, there's no distancing, there's nothing of that ilk.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they've got crew running around with like temperature checks every 2 minutes. Like, oh no.
I thought that they were actually they were all in a bubble. That's what I thought, because obviously they've got a quarantine before they come onto the show. So I would have thought just get them all, you know, together.
Yeah.
I know.
So we said
Go on,
that, and
go
then
on.
we said that's all well and good, but you then took Elliot out of one bubble and put him in another. So
Yeah.
granted, I'm guessing there was, because it was a whole like, oh, first day in the workroom, cliche, and so I'm guessing there was like an overnight between those episodes,
Yeah.
or those scenes. So at that point, did they then like get a speed test done on Elliot just to be sure? Something like that?
They don't make it clear, but I think it's probably safe to say, again, kind of stepping away from Drag Race for a moment, when you look at America as a whole in terms of how it's not dealing with COVID, I think it's probably the safer way to put it. This to me seemed very sort of emblematic of America's approach to COVID, which is, oh, we've done what we need to do. We've got the important people fine. You've got the judges with their perspex shields and their social distancing. Everything else is for the sake of entertainment. We'll do our basic checks, and the rest of it is just down chance. So,
yeah, I mean, I guess it's all happening off camera, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rather than it tainting the actual viewing experience.
But maybe just me. I'd kind of almost like to have seen some blurb at the beginning or at the end, like they do with like sort of
Everything
other stuff
over here,
where it basically it's just like, either this was filmed in these type of conditions, or these people are part of a bubble and there is no mixing, just to kind of reinforce that whole social distancing message. This just seems to be like that once you're in your bubble, it's fine. You can do whatever the F you like, and yeah,
maybe. So yeah, Tom, who was your favourite? What was your favourite on that initial like catwalk, the day and night looks?
Obviously it's got Mick, because she's just my favourite. I'm on the boat like you, on the fence. They're either really good or really crap.
Yeah.
But I don't mind the looks. Some of them I'm more like, oh, I definitely wear that, rather than what's that? Like,
What's going on there?
A choice was made with that outfit, but yeah.
You're talking about, oh, what's her name? I can never remember her name.
Candy Mist.
Candy Floss, Candy Must.
Candy Muse.
Candy Muse.
Yeah.
Muse. Yes. Are we talking about Candy Muse now?
I certainly would be, because I did not. I mean, when she got in front of the judges, they seem to be able to see something I can't right now. Now, I can't even say Candy's coming across as someone I like on like interviews and talking heads and stuff. She's coming across to me, I felt very much the same way this time last year about Britta. And it was very much that just because you're a New York queen, you think you've got it. And we were desperately trying to think back, and we can't remember, has a New York queen ever won? I can't obviously say yes.
Bob has won. He's a
Bob. Yes, of course, Bob. But Bob doesn't seem to have that attitude.
And Monet Exchange won. She's a New York queen.
She is indeed, and
But
she won. Yeah.
All Stars, but
Yeah.
But again, he didn't seem to have that attitude.
No. She's in fact, she comes across lovely. Yeah, genuinely lovely. So I think I almost want to just go up to her and go, look, pipe down, just chill. We get it. You're from New York. You do the New York queen. All right.
Yeah.
What else you got? That's kind of how I feel about that. I mean, obviously there's it's all been filmed and there's stuff to come that we don't know yet. So, but that's the day look. I was like, that's your day look. You stroll down Broadway wearing that. I mean, again, it's New York. Perhaps you do, but I couldn't see me popping to Asda in it. You know what I mean?
To be fair, it was a good look. I mean, that whole whatever she was going through, Elizabethan, Renaissance-y type sort of wig.
I tell you what it was. It bothered me at the time. The pennies just dropped. If anyone out there has seen We Will Rock You, it was Killer Queen, the baddie.
Okay.
That was exactly what that was.
I mean, I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
That's useful information. Yeah. But I mean, to be fair, I mean, I don't like Candy Muse, but I think again that's a personality thing for me. I think she's very.
I will say though, she is very like Aja. She's like, most of her looks are like sort of unfinished, but like they just remind me of Aja. Like all of the looks. Obviously they used to be together in a house. But yeah. Hopefully we will see a change in Candy, because obviously she's joined the dollhouse now.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll see a bit more like finishing, but I don't think we will, to be honest, because she's still got that.
A little bit of rough around the edges, almost.
Yeah.
It sounds like a really horrible thing to say, but she comes and weirdly, I didn't get that vibe with Aja, but I think that's possibly because she was more into sort of anime and like sort of K-pop and just out there type sort of outfit. So even though hers did come across as unfinished, at least in the first bit, I mean, I mean, some stuff I've seen her in since Drag Race, she's massively up to game, and it's just like.
Even when Aja came back for All Stars, and when it was announced, I was like, really? Her already? It was kind of, that was my reaction. Actually, I had a completely different opinion of Aja second time around. Didn't take to her in her season. In All Stars, absolutely thought she was amazing. Loved her. I think, I don't know if a combination of I'd warmed to her and she'd kind of calmed down a bit and just kind of learned. And we kind of met in the middle, I think. But, you know, I could see the same thing happening with Candy. I could see me warming to Candy, but I haven't got it yet. Right now, I think the judges see something I can't. And that's fair. I mean, they're the judges. Who am I? I'm somebody who does local panto once a year.
So like basically, so for me, Candy just suddenly in this episode, because it's the first time we've properly, as Tom sort of pointed out at the beginning, this is the first time we've properly seen really any of the queens outside of that initial sort of first impression of last week. I don't like. I thought her outfits just come across as cheap. And to be honest, and again, I appreciate this is only effectively, we're going to ignore the first one because for me, this is episode 1 of Drag Race. A lot of the outfits she was wearing today, if in previous seasons, she'd have been absolutely rinsed by Michelle, basically wearing essentially, hot pants and a bra, basically. And I don't know if that's that they're just letting her get away with it, and letting all of them get away with it because it's episode 1 and they expect them to up their game. But they already had the knives out, or the knives sharpened, I should say, for something like Tina Burner. They were already ready to pounce on her if she came out in another red, orange outfit, which she didn't. So it's not like necessarily that the judges are holding back. If they see something they don't like, that they kind of will go for it. And yet they aren't with Candy, and I'm just like, that's a bit.
Yeah, and I think that's it. I think we both had an expectation. I don't know how you feel about this, Tom. We had an expectation of, because we know the judges well enough by now to kind of, we know where they're going. We've got an expectation of where they're going to go.
Well, you're busy mates with Michelle.
Well, yeah, me and Michelle Visage were like that. We had one conversation on radio too. Surely forgotten completely who I am. Anyway, so yeah, hopefully. But we both were kind of like, oh, she's coming. She's going to be coming for Candy, and then she didn't. And then we were like, oh. So actually, I feel like poor old Candy. I feel like we kind of laid into her a bit, probably a bit too harsh. Given that we've given her like 10 minutes, but but
I suppose I can see that's possibly one of the things in a way that means Candy is good because she's a polarizer.
Yeah,
I imagine there's going to be people, and there'll probably be people out there watching this of the 300 to 500.
Yeah.
If we get as many views this time,
600 and 500.
Yeah, that will be going. What the hell are you talking about? Like, Candy was amazing. Candy was this. Candy was that.
Let's do a Carl Pallo. Comment below.
Yeah, I think
this morning.
Also with going to Canada's Drag Race, how brutal the judges were then. I thought compared to that, they seem to be like really like they just don't seem to be like critiquing the girls.
No.
It just seemed nice. They reminded me a bit of.
It was a bit bless you for coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was all a bit celebrity Drag Race for me. The kind of style of feedback they were giving, it's just like, no, these are professional drag queens. This is what they do for a living.
Yeah.
lay in. Well, no, don't lay into them, but give them honest critique. You know, like you have done in every other episode.
Like for
of
12
every
other years.
Yeah.
One thing that I don't like about the first 2 episodes is the fact that they haven't got like a big star opening the series.
Yeah.
Like obviously we've had Miley Cyrus, we've had Lady
Gaga.
Gaga.
Yeah.
It's
Even
just like
Jamal isn't a big star.
No, but interestingly, my comment was, "Hi Jamal, welcome back. Now that kind of we're not as fond of Todrick Hall as we used to be, because Todrick's had. We all know why. I love Todrick. I think Todrick's great, but
recent events has made me question him a lot.
Yeah. Well, small aside for our 6 to 500 viewers, our former lodger, who moved out just before Christmas, bought merchandise direct from Todrick when Todrick started selling stuff during lockdown because, bless her, she needed the money, clearly.
Or lockdown V1, as we're now calling it.
Yeah, exactly. And there were all sorts of shenanigans about the postage. And I just kept saying to James, look, it's Todrick. He's not sat around at home bored. He's still got he's still he's an international name. He's not just sat there going, oh, James has paid, I'll post it right away. So I had to kind of bring James back a little bit and go, look, it might take a while to come. Look, there's probably lots of people over the world buying his old frocks. Just your T-shirt's not a priority.
Yeah, potentially one of the 6 to 500 viewers.
Hi, James. Hope your flat's okay. Actually, he's got a lovely flat. I have seen his flat. It's lovely. And his cat seems to be good. So it's all good. So I'm trying to remember anyone else apart from Elliot with 2 T's and Candy from the opening and Gottmik.
You had Simone and Olivia Lux.
Olivia Lux. Adore, and Simone. I think Simone's one of those queens who, like, there's certain queens that have a look when they're in or out of drag. Like, you get the feeling if you saw them on stage at a drag show and then bumped into them in the bar out of drag afterwards, you'd go, "Oh my God, you were that girl! You were the girl on stage." Whereas Simone is one of those queens where I think, I mean, sure she puts contact lenses in, which always makes a massive difference. But I just get the feeling that I possibly wouldn't clock her as her out of drag if I'd seen her on.
Are you talking Simone or Olivia now?
Simone. The one who I said out of drag. Her face reminds me of a cartoon duck. I mean that in the nicest possible way, Simone. You're fab. But it's just something about, it's the big eyes and her little nose and lips.
Simone is one of our
6 to 500. Yeah. But I don't know. You'll see it next time you see it. You'll see it. There's something cartoon duck about her expressions.
See it now.
This becomes a thing. I will absolutely piss my pants. That's hilarious. But jumping a little bit. Okay, so while we're on Simone and Lux, I would have picked Olivia Lux.
Yeah.
As the winner of the lip sync. I think. I mean, they were both. Nobody was going home, so it's probably a bit of like, I'll pick that one because it doesn't matter almost. But I think there was more of a performance there. It was more fun to watch. She put more into it. Yeah, just for me. But who was it? It was Gottmik, I think, was my favourite runway. That was the bronze and the
Sea Dragon.
I could not understand why that wasn't a winner to me, because there just seemed to be so much more effort and thought put into it.
I just don't understand, like, when you can clearly see that they've edited it into, oh, they're going to win it, but then they don't win it. And it's like, it's so frustrating because when you know they've got the best look and then you're disappointed by them saying, oh, you're not the winner. And you just sat there like, well, why did you put me through all that and not say that she was the winner?
Yeah, completely. Yeah. Because the comments were, we were convinced, weren't we? So,
well, it was like basically when because again, a lot of this episode really reminds me of like an All Stars episode, and this was even before we weren't actually voting anyone off. But the moment they announced, because I was basically they'd done the wrong ways, and I was saying, right, it's between Olivia Lux and Simone. And so, of course, they announced it, and basically Olivia Lux and Simone both got announced as the winners, and we're going, okay, this is now an episode of All Stars, because they generally don't have two winners on, and sure enough, they had to like lip sync for the crown, effectively, of obviously episode 2. I need to call it episode 1 then. And that's where basically I think Olivia got sort of kicked to the curb a bit, because she was, I mean, both of their runway looks were amazing. I mean, Simone put all of her character into her runway look. It was very different to the other girls. It's one thing that, you know, we always love to see on a runway is when someone's actually taken the brief and had fun with it, and she absolutely did that. But her performance again was a very solid lip sync, but it was just a lip sync. Olivia was basically telling a story with hers, and you know, it was this completely ditzy character. Her runway was amazing, very stylish, very sort of chic, and she kind of went to the other extreme with her lip sync, where it's basically complete ditzy airhead type, which is very kind of against her quite sort of pageanty sort of styling for the.
But it went with the song.
Yeah.
If you're lip syncing to that song, I can't remember what the song was for the fucking life of me. Dua Lipa. Yeah, of course it was. Yeah, love a bit of Dua Lipa. Where I used to work, you had to, but it was like the law. So I can remember thinking this works with the song. She was bringing the lyric out, which I prefer in a lip sync. I mean, you can death drop and twirl and do that weird thing Eureka does that cleans the floor with her balls. I don't know, but you know, you can do all of that within an inch of your life. But you know, and I am a trained performer. I was always taught that. Have I mentioned it? Maybe once or twice. But basically, I was always taught, like, okay, classic thing. I was not a singer or a dancer, but we did a lot of musical theatre in my college.
It was.
Yeah. And but it was always like, let your face tell the story, because then if your arms and feet aren't in the right place, ultimately it doesn't matter. And it comes down to what Michelle said to Candy about when she went wrong in the dance is you don't let it show here. You know, this can all be all over the place. If this doesn't show it, you get over it, because very few people, unless they're, I don't know, Dame Margot Fontaine, are watching your feet going, wrong, 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 darling. It's not, you know, people aren't doing it. You go and see Wicked, you watch the faces. Unless someone completely tanks it, you're not necessarily going to notice.
Whereas, to be fair, it was very apparent that Candy had gone wrong.
Yeah.
Just from the editing, because they were focused on her face, and it's just like, wow, does she look really pissed off at the moment?
But again, I think that's the downside of television, is they've got it all on camera, and they can go back and they can go, ha, look, she went wrong here. Yeah. So that's why I think you've again, had she sold it, we'd have still seen it, but Michelle would have had the reverse comment of you fucked up. We saw how well you dealt with it. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's the difference between the TV and the live. But we've kind of completely jumped over the group performance, that's kind of bringing us back to it. Weird, because I found Elliot with 2 T's right before it did this whole, well, I'm a dancer and I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other.
But they're all acting weird, so I'm just going to.
How many times on how many seasons does Rue have to say, you don't step back? You know, you've got your one shot. It's no good saying, I'll bring it next week. You bring it today. I mean, Rue must be bored sick of saying it. But that wasn't the time to do that, especially when you are that kind of on a back foot, because you weren't originally part of, you know, this clique that has formed because they were the winners. And there's already been that little bit of workroom. Well, you know, we got rid of you. Why are you here? I would be out to prove something, I think, at that point. You know what I mean? So I think, and then when she did perform, yes, she was technically bob on, but boring as hell to watch. There was nothing. This wasn't going on. It was, I am hitting my marks beautifully.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a dancer for sure. It's not a performer. And I think I was like,
And it was one of the things I was in the same way when you come to that during the actual performance, because it's obviously, you know, she's in the back. She hasn't had her solo verse yet, and of course you said that, and I'm just like, perhaps she's waiting for her solo verse to come out to, like, you know, really show off. And it's very clear that's exactly what she was doing. But again, if you're going to do that, fucking blow them away with what you then bring for your verse. And she didn't. She was just technically very good, but it wasn't technical. There wasn't any like wow factor. It's like, oh great, you're doing a split. We haven't seen that before. Oh, you're doing this. We haven't seen that before. And we very clearly have. And yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, I like Elliot with two T's a lot. I mean, I love her aesthetic. I think the way she went about this was completely wrong. It kind of touches something I wanted to raise. Was basically you have this thing. Obviously, she comes back at the beginning of the show, and of course, Paul mentioned about the clique's already formed with the winners, and she's like the outside, and because they're doing the whole it's Elliot the mole, it's this, that, and the other, and it's literally practically not until almost the very end where she basically goes, so they actually say, so what's the deal with you? And he goes, oh, so you really want to know what's happening? Then basically goes through the whole book shop.
Yeah, I wondered if she not to say anything.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, because it's like, surely at some point you would have said, don't get too comfortable, because there are literally 6 or 7 other back at some point. I was the one that was voted. I mean, okay, it doesn't make you look good. I was the one that was voted off. There are 6 or 7 other queens that are going to be coming for your position, so don't get so up your asses, basically.
I mean, maybe it's just because I'm a bit gossipy and I'm a bit all about the tea, but I would have run into that room going, oh my God, you'll never guess what's going on in the next fucking room.
Yeah, because
it's freaking like a day. And I was like,
because drag queens are absolutely not about the tea at any point whatsoever.
All the drama, right? She had the perfect opportunity. I just sat on it, and I'm a bit like, so I genuinely thought she'd been told, they've got some big reveal coming. So she'd been told not to spill, and
or it was very much that unless you are specifically asked by one of the queens, you do not volunteer information.
At which point, why were they not asking? Well, how come you're back?
Yeah,
that didn't appear to. I mean, obviously, we've had an hour of a 48-hour period edited down, but I'm just genuinely shocked the other queens weren't all over that, especially Graham Norton's ex that wears the orange and red.
Tina Burner.
So shit with names.
I'm actually surprised I'm remembering them, because I'm normally really bad at remembering drag names.
But she's, I like her a lot. Reminds me a bit of Dusty Ray Bottoms, but she's clearly a shady cunt. There's no two ways about that. Do you know what I mean? She is shady as fuck. I like it because I think
you need it for a show like that.
And I think where you stand with her. But she's clearly shady as hell. But her runway. The Tin Man. Oh my God, how much did I love that? I mean, Wizard of Oz is a thing for me anyway, right? Anything Wizard of Oz, you could come out in the ropiest drag, but if it kind of honours the Wizard of Oz, I'm going to have a soft spot.
And it was Gigi Good.
Gigi Good, thank you. Last week.
I will say, wasn't my favourite, honestly.
No? Okay.
I just thought...
What was your favourite? Let's get into that.
I just thought, it was all just one colour, a bit too monochromatic. She needed something else to sort of, oh my God,
yeah,
put it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I will say, obviously Gottmik, Slayton, but that kind of gave me Sasha Velour. When she did the alien with the headpiece, it was very that. Elliot, I don't know. It was nice. I liked the dress, Elliot with 2 T's. It was very, what's the word? Sort of like kids pageant-y.
Oh, like Honey Boo Boo.
Yeah. But on a sort of adult level.
Yeah.
But I didn't really get it. Didn't really get any of the looks apart from the Tina Burner, Gottmik. They just, I don't know, just didn't.
Yeah, there's something I actually want to ask, and I want to ask Tom this, because we did the big thing at the beginning about what an amazing makeup artist Tom is, and seriously, when you kind of follow all of this on social media, you will absolutely see that his makeup skills are just, words don't do them justice. So I mean, I want to obviously ask Tom, in terms of your professional opinion, as it were, who's bringing the makeup game so far?
Elliot, is kind of up there because her skin always looks amazing. Gottmik, obviously, because she's a fellow makeup artist, so, you know. But as far as I'm seeing, Tina is very old style, and she's not elevating her like makeup game, especially with this week's like runway. Some like smoky eye and a slither of eyebrow. I just didn't think it was like.
So Tina seemed a bit put on a bit of slap to me.
Yeah, like where's the lips? She's got silver lips. Like where's the like the drag in a metal face? You know?
Yeah. Well, go on.
Candy Muse, she's very Aja. So when we saw Aja the first time, and it was like sort of Candy Muse is very that. Like I feel like it needs to be blended more. It needs to be like fine-tuned a little bit. It's very Instagrammy. Like do you know like what the girls doing today, doing like the big lips and the like highlighter and everything. I feel like obviously times are changing, and that's what drag is now, is like looking more fishy. But it's just not doing it for me. It's not drag, it's just a boy putting on makeup.
Yeah.
Like you need something to take it to the drag
level.
Yeah.
You're just going down Chicago's with your mates, love, aren't you? It's,
yeah.
Cardiff nightclub or something.
Chicago Rock Cafe was a chain.
Oh, okay.
More so in the 90s and the 2000s, I think. But I can absolutely see what you're saying there, to be fair. And another thing I've noticed, and I'm sure there was some last week, and there were at least 3 today. What's these tiny handbags about?
I do not know.
It reminds me.
Some trend on Instagram, and I'm like, what can you fit in like a bag this big? Like a lipstick?
Yeah, I mean, your bank card maybe, but it was, all it reminded me of was way back in, now Tom, you will not remember this, you're far too young, you might. There was a cartoon called Sport Billy, and Billy had a magic bag, and it basically shrunk to a bag this big until he needed it, and he held it up, and it grew to be like an ordinary sports bag, and magically whatever he needed was always inside it. I think it was called the Omnisac, which sounds like
a dodgy thing,
testicle thing, but it was. But all I kept thinking of was, at the right moment, are these queens going to hold it up, and it will suddenly grow to be a normal-sized handbag, and everything will be in there, Hermione style, you know. But yeah, I was every time they brought out one of these little bags, I was like, huh?
What is the point? Like, what's the point in it?
Yeah. I mean, I get it as a, you know, you can have props and accessories to go with an outfit or a look or whatever. Yeah. Don't necessarily recommend an orange harness unless you're really going to cinch. Just say that. But the bag didn't work for me. I was like, have something else.
Yeah, you said one of the really, and you kind of very much what we were saying before about the judges really seem to be pushing for the and stuff. They were like, especially during like the match one way sort of element. Like, you know, because I think it was even Olivia. It was like the one issue we had, because obviously she came out looking amazing in this very sort of Hollywood glam, I would call it, for the Lame outfit. The first thing we both said was she needs to have cinched more. And there was an awful lot of that, like, you know, Tina Burner with like this cheap, I mean, she was wearing a latex outfit sort of thing, and it had obviously this cheap plastic red harness, which for us didn't work. And again, the judges go, oh yeah, we love the harness. And it's just like, what? And you know, there was no cinch more, no do this. There was very little. I can't actually really think of any like proper negative, you didn't do this, you need to step up your game to do this for the next challenge type. Which, again, we are normally getting this on like the first or second episode of most seasons. Yeah,
because they'll. I mean, how often have we heard the line, "This is season X. You know the game by now."
Yeah,
you know, I think we've been getting that line thrown at the Queen since probably about season 8. So for season 13, you would really think it applied.
But like season 12, first episode, they had a bit of a thing with Crystal Method, because in the group challenge, she was wearing the all red face. But she came out in the runway. Michelle was like, she's wearing the same thing.
We've seen it, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, where was that in this season's second episode? Like, first one should have been more, like...
Yeah. Bring your game a bit more at season 13.
Yeah.
Completely. I mean, what I do find interesting is I had a couple of years, realistically, where I was on the verge of Drag Race fatigue. And I had to rewatch it all with him. But basically, I'd got to a point where it was all feeling tired. I was feeling I'd seen everything, and you always knew what was coming next. And it's this week. It's going to be Snatch Game. And he does not like Snatch Game. We get to Snatch Game, he's going to be an absolute bitch. Just warned. But it's because they're usually so bad. This is the weird thing.
So unfunny for the most part.
Yeah, right. So there's this kind of weird perception is reality thing that Snatch Game's the amazing episode. Go back and rewatch a few. Unless you watch probably season 3, 4, 5, and 6. Actually, it really isn't. They ain't all that. No. They just aren't. So I'd got to a bit of a and the penultimate episode was always the puppets as the mini challenge.
Which I love the puppet mini challenge, because you get some comedy queens on there. It's lethal.
I just felt that maybe after so long, they'd basically had every really worthy drag queen on the show, and they were just trying to scrape the barrel a little. But then last year completely put me in my place and was awesome. And I pretty much loved everyone last year. Some more than others, and some people had grated on me after a while or whatever, Britta. Love, just because you're named after a water filter, don't cut it with me. So it was just, and then last year felt fresh, and it was a breath of fresh air, and I was back into it. And this year does feel like, again, I'm not sat there going, it's this year's Bianca, it's this year's Jinx. This year, I do feel like I'm not naming them someone else. They've all got their own, whether I like them or not, doesn't matter. It's the game's back.
They have their own identities.
Yes. Yeah. So what do we think's coming? Did you watch the Next Time on Drag Race thing, Tom?
I can rewatch it now.
It's all right. The only reason I was going to say that is because it would appear next week is the other group. There were some odd flashes of this week's group on the sofa. So we're going to start with either a bit of an Untucked kind of situation or a before they de-drag situation. But then all of the challengey stuff.
People like Utica back on there.
So it appears to be the other group. But what it looked like to me awfully like was the other group doing the same challenges as this week. They do a different song.
I just feel like why I don't get why they're doing this two group thing, because obviously we're just going to see the same challenges 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Why not just do it all in one episode and just,
Yeah, completely. Because let's face it, I can't imagine a Drag Race fan out there that wouldn't watch a 2-hour episode.
Yeah, I'd love to. I just sat there like it's a film.
Hello, Ace. This is Ace, our cat. I might choose to watch it over 2 nights or something, or whatever that might be. But 2 hours of Drag Race a week, I'm there for it. That's not an issue for me, and I can't imagine it's an issue for most people. Now I get it that this way they're going to get a longer season. They're going to be on air for longer. They've probably not been able to make as much because I don't know if there'll be like an All Stars yet and stuff, because COVID has obviously impacted on the business as it has the world. So I kind of get it from that point of view, from making money on for Logo TV and VH1 and Netflix and whoever else are involved. So I see that, but I just think if you could have the long season and the double episodes, and there's enough material there to do it, why not do it? Obviously, I know the work off camera and editing and doobie-doobie-doo, producing and whatever else. But I think, well, those are all things that can be done from home. You know, that's not difficult.
Yeah.
You know, Pixar are making movies from home. It's like, you know, it's not. It can be done. It's not like us poor buggers who couldn't get to do Panto this year. Just saying. But yeah. So I think, I don't know. I just think there was creatively other ways to do it, rather than it possibly becoming tired. If we're already going, oh, next week's going to be the same. I mean, you know, next week could come, we watch it and go, well, fucking hell, we were wrong about that, weren't we? Great, hopefully, but I think probably not.
Like they have. Oh, go on. They have done like 2-part episodes before in the past, haven't they? Like to be continued and everything. So I feel like they could have done that like a couple of times through this season, but just put it all in one episode if you're gonna, you know, do two groups.
Yeah, I suppose what it hinges on is whatever their plan is for revealing the 2-group twist to each group. Now, I would imagine the loser queens, I say that in inverted brackets because, as Rue quite rightly said at the start of this, you're all winners, baby. Because, you know, you got through the audition process. The losers are the fuckers out there who've got to go back next year. So, you know, bastards. But it's one of those things where I think, well, they must know. They're not going to think, oh, they've told them they've won and sent them home. They're not thinking that. Whereas the current girls, until Elliot sort of, you know, blabbed a little bit, could have been blissfully unaware there was a whole other group working. And I even got to, I mean, again, I don't know what studio space they've got, stuff like that, but I even got to a point where I thought, if you had like moved it round, so there was the adjoining wall between calling Group A and Group B was a mirror wall, and every once in a while you'd see through the mirror and see what the other group were doing, and it'd be like, oh my god, those bitches are doing this, you know, or pulling silly faces at each other or trying to communicate through the mirror. I just thought there's some fun they could be having there.
Yeah.
Again, maybe, perhaps it will come later. Who knows?
I mean, in terms of the positive about the way they appear to be doing, because again, you know, we're only on episode 2. Rue is great for throwing weird spanners in the work, but doing it this way does avoid the issue we've had in previous seasons, where for about the first 3, 4, maybe 5 episodes, a lot of the queens kind of get lost in the shuffle. Yeah. Because you're dealing with a smaller group, so you actually get to know, like, the queens individually over a much quicker period. Like, you know, we've already got way more insight into 6 or 7 queens in tonight's episode, with another 6 or 7 in next week's episode, than we would have probably done by episode 4 or 5 of one of the older seasons. So maybe they're doing it that way, that you know, this is as much about that as it is about COVID. We won't know until we get to see a Drag Race episode that isn't affected by social distancing and COVID restrictions and all this, that, and the other. But it's season 50. Yeah. But it's certainly one of the positives for me. It's that, you know, we are dealing with each episode, we're dealing with a smaller group. So who knows?
Yeah. So roll on next week. So Tom, are you going to join us again next week?
I might do.
Okay.
If you have me.
Gladly. That wasn't a yes.
Wasn't a no. Okay,
but
so
we have got more Drag Race to watch.
We've got UK
from next week. Yeah.
From next week, so we need to do those as separate episodes, I feel. And of course, you know, as I've said, you know, Drag Race UK, Tom's a contender in my book. If I've got anything to do with it, you will see Tom on that stage.
I will say I did apply for this season, but obviously I wasn't good enough.
Yeah, but we've got. I mean, I don't know her, but we've got a local queen to support.
We have.
So Tom, Paul, and I all live in South Wales. It's a very rural community on the whole, and so just down the road is a little city called Newport, where one of the season 2 UK queens is from. I think she now actually lives in London, but she's a Newport girl originally. So I'm hoping I like her, because I'm going to feel obliged to back her whether she's good or not.
I'm excited to see a Welsh queen, I will admit, But the queens that I know from Wales are all funny, and she just doesn't give off that vibe. She gives off like a glamorous, like, you know, pageant vibe. So I'm hoping she is quite funny, because obviously I want to like her, because obviously she's a Welsh queen.
Yeah.
But
I just want to say as well, again, this is more for the benefit of the 600 to 500 viewers we've got. Tom earlier did mention about the fact that he'd auditioned and felt he clearly wasn't good enough. I would just like to say, no, Tom, you are good enough. You just weren't what they were looking for this season.
Yeah, 100% that. Have you applied for season 3? Because those are open, aren't they?
I haven't even looked. I might. We'll see.
We've got. Actually, we're quarter of an hour late for a quiz we're supposed to be in. But anyway, but yeah, do that today, Tom. Do that today.
Okay, I will. I'll do it when we get out now.
Absolutely. Right. So until next week. Goodbye.
Bye.